Perhaps you may have one or more students in your class who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and their agitation, which can be both physical and verbal, often disrupts the learning environment within the classroom setting. Hi, my name is Tamara Malinoff. I'm a psychoeducator working in both the private and public sectors and collaborating with the Disabilities Institute. Today, I will share with you some strategies to help your students improve self-regulation and gain more control over impulsivity. There are two types of interventions: those that respond to the students' need to move around without disrupting the functioning of the class, and those that limit their restlessness. We will look at both of these options. Strategies used to respond to the need to move. The first one is to allow the students to move around the classroom. You can create a restricted area for movement. For example, you can outline the student's desk area with tape on the floor, covering an area wider than the desk where the student can move around in. Distribute active responsibilities to the students. They could be the messenger, erase the board, collect the books, distribute handouts, or ask the student to come and show you each part of the task they completed. Allow the student to listen or work in another position other than sitting at their desk, for example, kneeling or standing whenever possible. The next strategy: allow sensory stimulation, especially in repetitive or passive activities. So for example, reading, listening to a presentation that are not very stimulating for the student. This will allow them to remain focused. We could, for example, include using a stress ball, sitting on a therapeutic ball, or an air cushion, chewing on plastic mouthpieces, and so on. The third strategy is to use participatory and active teaching strategies. For example, facilitate role-playing games to move students into action. Take a movement break. Develop alternatives to paper or pencil activities. The fourth strategy is create more opportunities for physical activity. A growing body of research shows that physical activity leads to significant impacts for students with ADHD, such as increased attention span, better working memory, and improved processing speed. Avoid depriving the students of the physical activity time allotted in the schedule to resume schoolwork. Choose cooperative games rather than games that encourage competition, as this increases the difficulties of self-control in at-risk students. The fifth strategy is to disregard the minor behaviors. This refers to behaviors that are annoying but do not impact the flow of the class, such as squirming in a chair or working while standing up. Refrain from showing signs of being aggravated when faced with unintentional behaviors. The strategies to limit restlessness. The first one is to prevent the onset of restlessness. For example, by placing the student in your field of vision, by physically approaching the student regularly. The second strategy is to help the student become aware of their restless behaviors. You can meet with the student to discuss these behaviors and agree on some sort of sign that you will use when they display these behaviors. The third strategy: help the student to calm down. For example, if after recess the student is restless, encourage the student to do an activity to relax, such as putting their head on their desk and closing their eyes, putting headphones over their ears, doing some stretching exercises or yawning, listening to calming music, or doing some deep breathing exercises. The fourth strategy is to arrange the classroom environment in order to limit the problems associated with restlessness. Ask the student to only have on their desk the material needed to complete the task. Place the student's desk in an area that is less intrusive to others. For example, at the end of a row or at the front of the row. Create a quiet workspace to allow the student to withdraw to regain control over their behavior. And the fifth strategy is avoid wait times. Avoid long delays between tasks or lengthy explanations. Maximize the time spent learning. And the sixth strategy: carefully prepare for transitions and movements. For example, have clear instructions that specify exactly what the student is required to do and when to do it. To conclude, remember, as an educator or teacher, you can intervene to reduce the level of restlessness for students living with ADHD by planning activities that will respond to their needs to move, as well as using the strategies outlined above. Over time, their restlessness and hyperactivity will decrease.